Hello and welcome to Cosmic Crap. I'm Ariel.
Hello, welcome. It's Mousa.
This is a lousy podcast where two humans talk about, I don't know, all sorts of shit. Some yoga, some philosophy, nonsense things. Hopefully you're entertained. So we were just talking, I'm in a new office space today and I feel like a whole different human being in here. I'm like, I'm so out of my element. But we're trying new things. We're trying, trying some shit out.
That's amazing. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited and nervous because I've had a yoga studio previously, but it was out of my garage at my own house, so the stakes were very low. And now I'm skewing more yoga therapy, more science-backed practices, which is really exciting, but also super intimidating because you kind of realize. I thought I had a pretty solid grasp on, mental health and yoga, and you just start reading and you just keep going and going and going, and there's no end to the knowledge. That's for sure. So exciting and, soul crushingly terrifying. Have you been up to much these past 2 weeks?
Actually, no, not much. I have taken few days just to do nothing. And being on my own. So I would say, I didn't do much during the last few days. But
I think secluded time alone is such a necessary event in life.
I think it is for some people, yeah. Probably for some others it's a bad idea.
Good point.
But for some, it could be quite good or bad or just reflective or whatever they choose why to actually do it. But yeah.
Yeah, as you say that, I think back on times where it's definitely been like I do well when I have time to decompress and to like turn back into a human, as I like to say. And there are times when I self-isolate where it's like, oh man, somebody should stop me. This is not healthy anymore.
Yeah, it really depends. Yeah.
So today we're going to continue our theme of as broad of a show title as Ariel can possibly come up with. And today we're going to talk about how everything is made up. And we've kind of referred to this, I believe, in our first show where everything is just made up. At some point, somebody decided that things would be the way that they are. And while that is helpful in certain instances, much like our example of being alone, it could also be like wildly detrimental to have to find out what works for yourself. That's a hell of a journey on its own.
So, what do you think about that stance? If you can share the first thing that comes to mind when you
I love it personally. I use it quite often in my life in moments where I'm feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, or so. I guess actually in moments where I'm noticing heavy attachment towards a thing, to a person, to an outcome. When I get like totally frazzled, it's sort of like amazingly calming to be like, you know what? This is all fucking made up. Who knows? Who knows? And if I were somebody born in a different part of the world, then the things around me that were made up would be just wildly different, which makes my difficult whatever situation even more manageable, because ultimately none of this fucking matters. We're all gonna die. Who fucking cares? So again, I can definitely take it too far where I make it a fuck everything, everything's made up. But it's something that I take comfort in personally. What about you? How are your I'm so excited. This is going to be so good.
Uh, I'm not sure. This actually opens up so many branches and so many things.
Mm,
Generally, without going into much details, it feels right. But it also can be used as um, excuse, not
mm,
to uh, not to trying to understand things or so, because it is made up, so it can be used like that. However, it's also true, I think. um, I'm not sure, but it's somehow it's all our life pretty much. We have to find a way to function socially, and we have to make things up with a common meaning. So when we communicate, we make sure that we refer to the same thing. And so we made up so many things that somehow common, so that we can speak about it, we can do something about it, we can um we can live. um Without that, it will be a chaos, I think, socially. um so it is beneficial to some level, um but I think it's also it might backfire when someone wants to um, get deeper into something, and they get occupied by the idea that it's so real
mm.
and it's so overwhelming, and it's so tangible. Um, and this, if it is severe, it might be actually crippling, so that the problem is too much for me to do anything about it. And if we say, well, everything is made up, then this might be helpful, but it's on the other extreme. So there is no problem. It's all fake. It's not there. Um, so sometimes it's also a bit. I don't know. I don't want to say weird, but it's just if someone is dealing with something or something they think it is a problem, and then someone says, "Oh, it's not real," it somehow undermines what
Mm.
they are going through. Um,
Yeah,
so there is so many
the
sides to.
the what's the saying that methods are traps in themselves? This
Mhm,
I think plays so deeply into that because
mhm.
there are I feel like you just did such a good job of like showing all of the many ways that that can be interpreted, how it's potentially beneficial but also harmful as well. It's there comes a point where you can take a method like this, like we'll use me as an example, using it as like a coping mechanism, essentially. And there are ways that you can do it wrong. There are ways that it can exist and be, healthy and productive. And like you said, it can be my favorite phrase is like spiritual bypassing. So it can be very bypassy, just to be like, oh, everything's made up, so your problems are totally not real, because problems exist. And whether or not, you're exploring your yoga and whether or not you're seeing if it's related to attachment, we live in a world where a certain level of structure is totally necessary. You just can't, well, everybody's going to, but the goal is to not get caught in the methods when they become traps.
Yeah, I think this is a good point. Yeah, but um, I think the problem is a product of something higher of it. So I have a problem because I think in a certain way. Because I follow, not follow, but I perceive things in a specific way. And because my way is not the right way to perceive things, or my way of perception actually created a problem to some level, I think. So I think that would explain why a problem might be a problem for a person, but might not be one for a different person. So, for example, if someone going through a difficult test at university, they might be stressed out. They will stay like the whole night studying because they think that this has value. If someone doesn't give so much value to education, or at that test in particular, or for that test, they might take things lightly. And if they fail, they wouldn't perceive it as a problem because they don't think it has value. So I think when someone starts to choose or adopt a certain way of values and morals and style and whatever you want to call it, then it will create certain problems of their nature. So of the nature of the style that people follow. So we have different problems for different types of people. So we choose the style that we will be more comfortable dealing with its problems. However, I think there are types of people who actually enjoys being in always a problem mode.
That's a real thing. There, I forget the name of it, but there are, I think there are studies even to back this up. It's something about the familiarity of being in that state where things are. I feel like chaotic is your favorite word. Like being in a state where things are chaotic. There is the way that sets up your nervous system, how you respond to things, where your brain is in that moment. It becomes to a certain extent predictable, and we are in that way creatures of habit, where we like to be in a place that we know. And while getting out of it is effort, and sort of readjusting to, let's say, a non-chaotic state, that is difficult. But being in this state of chaos also difficult, but it's a difficult that so I will be honest and say that I have been, in periods in my life where, like, you just, against all better judgment, you just crave like drama, and I will create drama where it doesn't need to exist, simply because I don't know, I'm a human. I'm like a massively flawed human. That's part of it. And also my brain likes chaos. My heart, no. Brain, yeah.
Yeah, I think I think this. I have seen it in many people. I am starting to doubt myself for that, but for different reason. I think somehow some people enjoy the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Yeah.
and maybe others are scared to move actually forward, because they don't know what's there. And
Hmm.
being in a familiar place is better, because somehow I have certain predictions about what might happen. But if I move actually forward, then things might turn in the way that I don't like, and that's a bit scary, I suppose. Yeah.
I wonder what of it is perceived control. So even in a situation where things are chaotic and you don't necessarily have control over the situation, you have control in that you've done this before, so you sort of can kind of anticipate what's happening next. When
Mm.
I think about structure as well, all of these like ideas of this is all made up. Yes, and the necessary part of it perhaps is that there's predictability and there's safety and predictability,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's brains are so complex, it's not as simple as saying, oh, okay, this is chaotic, let me let me move away from this. I wish my brain worked like that, but
Yeah. Uh, I think control is the reason why we actually get angry. It's why we always in a struggle. It's
hmm.
why we always pursue things, um, mostly. Um, but I think, um, yeah, it is at the core of so many things that we have, because we want to control so many stuff and we can't. So we get angry or sad, or I think something also happened to me a few days ago. I applied for some role that I did like, actually very much, aligned with what I wanted to do, but I didn't get chosen. So I was very angry. I was upset for the whole day, and probably the day after. It was clearly that I wanted them to choose me, but they didn't. So they should have. So I have that sense of entitlement. Uh, it's like, it should be me. Why
Hmm.
not me? And since this happened, I get angry, upset, and my ego got hurt, because, well, it should have been me. But, well, it didn't happen. And that certainly comes from the desire to control what happened. I wanted the future to be in the way I wanted, and this didn't happen, so I get angry. Uh, so I think control is at the core of so many things. So many things. We can't just give in. We can't surrender to what's happening. We have to defend our desires. We have to go for it, and we have to enforce it over others, and over so many other things. Um, so, and when this happened, we feel more powerful. We feel we did something good, or well, not necessarily good, but just gives us a sense of achievement. And if it didn't happen, we get angry. So it's like we are in that hunter-like mode, or hunting-like mode, that we always want to get something. Um, and yeah, some people say, well, the only way to live, really live, is to just surrender, give in. You But I think we don't have a button that we can push so that we can flip to the giving up mode. There was that will be very hard. Uh,
Well, listen, if there was one, I would have found it. The I feel like the thing that sort of sparked our friendship is almost exactly a year ago. I had uh just a series of things gone awry in my life is a very polite way to put it, where every single part of my life, literally overnight, just was out of my control. I had no control over anything. People in my life were literally disappearing. My father got really, really sick and he died during this period. It was just like a whole thing. And I'm less my default is less anger, more like disappointment maybe, or like sadness, frustration. And I think you got like a front row view to this period where the only thing that I could do to get through was to surrender to it. And I couldn't for a long time. I really struggled because so many horrific things were happening and I had no control, and I like every single moment I was just waiting for the next terrible thing to happen. And there were several months where that is what was happening. These like the worst case scenario just continued to happen over and over. And at some point, I don't know, like I'm going to credit you because I don't think I did it. At some point you just got me to just accept. And there are moments obviously where I slip out of that now, but to just be like, okay, fine. This is what this is, and things are fluid, so it's not going to be like this forever, but it is like this for right now. And this thing that is necessary, I think, to be a human living in this world, you have to have a really hefty level of acceptance. And to get there, wow, it's really hard.
I think it might be a bit farther, or I would say, okay, I would say it might be um, beyond acceptance. Acceptance is more of a passive reaction.
Hmm.
Maybe I accepted because I wasn't able to do anything about it. So I had no choice but to accept it. And because we have that adaptation trait in us, over time, the heat of the things get a bit lighter and softer. So certain things made me sad before, and I was very sad. But over time, I get less sad, and then less sad, and then I forget about it. Acceptance happened at the end of that process. So I would say that it's more about I don't know how to say it.
Well, it's complicated because you said earlier we need structure so that we can use similar words and know that we're referring to the same thing. And yes, the word is acceptance, but there's a lot to that, right? Acceptance can be, I accept you and I are having a conversation right now. It can be, okay, I accept that a year ago my life fucking exploded. Or it can be more. It can be greater. It can be less. That like the way in which all of these things can express themselves are like there's no container. So how do you put them into a container to talk about them?
I think, okay, I can summarize it in, I guess, one theme, which is that acceptance cannot come from the mind. I can't plan to accept something. I can't think to be grateful. I feel that I am actually grateful for someone or something. I don't have internal conflict about what happened. Hence, naturally, I am accepting what happened, because acceptance would imply that I have no conflict. There is no conflict. So the conclusion would be that I accept what happened, because there is no struggle. Resistance had been dropped. So I can't plan to accept it. I have to be in a state, or not a state. I would say a state. It's not the perfect word, but just because of the lack of a better word, a state that naturally would lead me to accept what happened, because I have no other choice, because I am in that state. It's like I am in the perfect conditions to get angry. I will get angry naturally. I don't think people think that I will get angry now. Like nobody says, oh, now I am thinking about getting angry. They think maybe about holding their anger. But if someone will be consumed by the anger, they won't think. They will just be angry. So I think acceptance is of that nature. They just accept. They won't be able to think about it because there's nothing to think about. If we start to think about accepting something, that would imply that I am okay. The thing is that thinking has to be made in a structured way. Thoughts might be messy. Like I can have millions of thoughts and they have nothing to do with each other. That might be actually possible. But every single one of them follow a structure that I integrated in me before, whether I know it or not. So I know that now I'm looking, for example, at a wall, because I know that that thing is called wall. So I am not thinking about the names of things because now I know it by heart. So the way we think is, I think, similar to that. We know our way by heart. So the thoughts are following a certain structure that we integrated in us before. That's why it is not really compatible with acceptance, because if we started to think, that means we will start to contaminate the acceptance by the way of our thinking, by our structure, because it would mean that we have to find a mechanism through which we accept stuff. So we would say something. So we would say, it is not real, made up. Maybe the person didn't mean it, so maybe I shouldn't actually get angry. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe so. Every single sentence has an embedded implication. So if someone get angry because they have been told something that they don't like, they would say, maybe the person actually didn't mean it, so they didn't get angry, so they would accept what happened. So the question would be, what if the person meant it? You will get angry. So you didn't accept it. You just gave yourself a condition upon which you would accept it. So it will always be conditional, because the mind would try to find a way, mechanical way, to impose acceptance. That's why the thinking is not compatible with it. It has to happen like when people get angry. They don't think, they just be angry. So if someone will accept, because they will just accept, they are in a state, or they fulfill the conditions for it. They are not lacking anything that might prevent them from accepting what happened. They don't think about it. Sometimes I drink water without thinking. I might be listening to something and I find myself drinking water. I don't think I have never thought about it. It just happened like that. Because I was in a state that I was actually thirsty, so I drank water. So it naturally happened because I needed it. I think if there is a concept like acceptance existed, it would be of that nature. But
So do you question the I guess existence of acceptance just as sort of as a basic concept?
As a concept of mind, it doesn't mean anything because it won't work. I don't think it will work because if it works once, it won't work the other times. It won't work later because the first time it worked, we somehow told ourselves a narrative, like we distorted the way things happen. So we said if for example I failed some tests, I would say, well, too bad. Well, I was stressed out. I didn't study well, but I will do better in the future. So I am good now, over it. So moving on, accepted it. But I doubt that this would work in the future too, because in the future I might have the time and I might have the energy, and it might be my last chance. And then I failed again. Now I would have to create a different story, narrative for it, a different path to justify what happened. So I would say it's more of, as you mentioned before, a coping mechanism. So someone might have probably broken up with their partner, and they might say so many stuff so they can actually move on. So might say, well, things like it was never meant to happen, or my partner had a lot of issues, or I had a lot of issues and now I need time. So the mind will always try to limit the way stuff happened. So I will create a different story that can give me a bit of ease of for what happened. But it is because I have a conflict. I don't like it, and I don't like what happened. I don't like that I failed. It bothers me. I would say a better way would be to sincerely say that I don't like it. I don't have to accept something that I don't like. But then once people will get filled up, once they gave it the time, this might help them to understand more when they looked at the thing in in the eye, that it was never, or it was not as hard as they thought. And this might be even helpful for them, because the mind imposed acceptance is a form of I don't know, but it could be a form of so many things: coping, or defense, or escapism, or pursuing feel good. I don't want to say pleasure, because pleasure is a bit more, but just I don't like it, what happened, and I need to find a good reason to deal with that. But if the person has no conflict internally, they would naturally accept what happened. Naturally. They won't think about anything. You won't find them. It's like if someone, for example, tells you something about a certain topic, you would say, maybe, I don't care. You don't care. Why? Because you don't like it. You don't like the topic. It is not part of the interest. Interesting topics for you. So you would say, well, I am not interested. I don't like it. And then you will move on. So it is not similar to that, but it's close to it. It's like if I am in a bad, for example, if I am with a partner and I don't like that we are together, I would feel less bad if we broke up than if I liked what we had. Because the natural outcome from my side would be to just leave, because I don't like what we have. So, and then this would lead to acceptance, because, well, naturally I don't like it, so I left, so I accepted. So it's more of a natural response. And once the mind interferes, it will create future issues. Not now, but we will need to create different pathways to translate what happened. So something happened. It actually created something strange in me, and I don't know what to do. I feel sad, I feel anxious, I feel so many things, but I don't know what to do. So I need to find something to explain what happened. This gap, the gap between what happens and what I want things to be, is similar to the gap between actual death and the knowledge that we will die. We all will die, but it is not like someone is dying. It is not the same. It doesn't feel real that we will die. It's like we know it, but we only know it by the mind. it's like information, something that you will find on Google, that you made a search and we will all die. Okay, that's too bad. And then it's like information, it's data. But if someone will get through a terrible sickness and they will be close to death, then it will be a bit more real than just information. It won't be data for them. Now the thing will be real. It feels real. And when someone dies, well, that is the realest of the real. So there's always some gap between what we know and what is actually happening. I think that's why acceptance cannot be a concept of mind. It can be a concept. It's hard to be one in the form that spiritual teachers wanted to be. It's just not possible to think about it and to have it and to have intention to accept something or to plan for it or to have a decision to actually do it. It is just not possible. It can't happen.
Now, see, I disagree a little bit, not with everything that you said, because I definitely agree that, like all things, it can become a trap. There's no doubt. However, I take a slightly different approach in my thinking because as wonderful as it would be to follow the spiritual teachings of yoga and philosophy, we're still humans and we still have brains, and our brains are responsible for a lot of things. So I think I'll speak just for myself, but in my situation, I thought myself to acceptance for a lot of that stuff. And I know that I'm not going to just forever accept anything. I'm going to have emotional reactions, yada, yada. But I think that because I am a human and I have a brain and I'm not, perfectly in control of my brain, I found my thinking my way to acceptance to be very true to me. And I know that it doesn't last forever. It doesn't take over all things. It's not necessarily a pattern that I can even be sure that will repeat itself. So I think I very much keep in mind that in a brief moment, it could turn into a trap and it could be something that's not quite so helpful for me. But I think there's a lot of power in what you think and what you work through. And I'm just going to be dramatic all the time. I'm just going to be really dramatic before I accept stuff.
Yeah.
Just add a little drama to it. Like I said before, I like it. I know it. I'm comfortable in it. So let me toss a little chaos on for you.
I think it is certainly a solution. I would argue it is a temporary one, but it is a solution for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely like upkeep involved. It's not a destination that you arrive at and then everything's great from there. There is forever work involved with it, even with things that have passed, even with things that are no longer a part of my life. There are, because I have a brain, they'll come up and I will have like a trauma response or simply a memory. And I know that, wow, I really need to address this when it comes up, or I'm gonna cycle myself again.
Yeah, but I think there is 2 points. The first one is what you said, which is that you have to do some work. So it requires maintenance, which and that's an effort. So I have to do some work to actually keep it up. I don't perceive this necessarily positively. because it requires energy, and I am not in favor of exerting energy. To be honest, I would rather to choose to do things that would require less work,
Mm.
because it might take every day that I need to actually maintain it, or not necessarily every day, but well, for quite some time, significant period of time. The second point I would say is that we can flip the way that we think about it, which would be examining why I didn't have the conditions to accept what happened, rather than finding a way to accept it. So if something happened, I might try to think about a certain path to accept it, neutralize what happened. So well, I didn't study for the test, so I failed. That's too bad, but I was very tired. I had so much on my plate. I had so many tests, I didn't know what to do. So this is a way, well, it is a try from us to find a way to justify what happened or accept what happened. I would say it is better to examine, okay, why I don't accept that I failed, or why I feel so bad or so sad that I failed the test, why I did not accept it. What are the conditions that if I had them, I would have accepted what happened. And this will go a bit deeper. This might go deeper to the level that actually created the conflict. So, and if this was examined, this actually might solve a lot of issues, a lot of problems, acceptance and every other thing there is. So, but it's just a hard question. It's very hard, and it requires a lot of reflection, and whatever method actually people use, it doesn't matter. But just how can someone answer that? It's not easy to answer. It's quite hard. Easier is to find a way to justify what happened. It's easier. And it's also, it offers the solution quite fast. Like in less than a day, I can feel it. I can feel better. And that's good. Then I don't feel bad. And once I feel good or I don't feel bad, then I move on. And then the question, why I didn't feel the acceptance would still buried underneath, deep down, because it's hard. And I mean, I don't like to answer hard stuff, especially about myself. Exhausting and takes a lot of time. It's usually unpleasant, so it's not really the good thing to do. So a better way is to just say, well, I am sorry, I had so much to do, and just I failed my test. That's so bad, and I will do it. I will do better later in the future, and things will turn out to be good. And moving on. Now I feel less bad. Nice, perfect. So, if we have an answer to the question why I did feel bad, or why I didn't feel light, or it bothers me, why? So this would go deeper, and then layer by layer, you actually might find something that you didn't know before, something revealing. Yeah, so I think that's why for these 2 points that I don't like acceptance as a concept of mine, but I also totally understand why actually people do it. It offers a solution, which is quite good. That's what we are all looking for. And it's fast, efficient. It does not require so much time, which is also
in some instances.
yeah. Uh,
Let me ask. I'm curious. So is like a natural, whatever your version of like true acceptance is, if that exists, is it presented in a way where somebody is not having another emotional reaction?
well, not necessarily, but I would say, well, we are, of course, humans. So if something bad happened, we will feel bad naturally. I would say it's more about the intensity, and because sometimes things escalate so deep and so fast. So, for example, if someone had a bad experience happened, then in few minutes they would say, "Oh, it is because I am a bad person. It's because I don't actually deserve anything. Anything good happens to me. It is somehow the shock gets so big, so massive, so much in a very short time." Yeah, I might continue with the test that I failed. So then I might say, well, actually, in few minutes, oh, maybe I am not meant for this. So, or, well, oh, maybe this is not my thing just because I failed it. Because I feel so bad, so sad about it. And if someone in the state of acceptance, they would feel sad that they failed, but then but maybe maximum for few hours, and then it's over, it's done. It's like they get the shock as much as it weighs actually for them. It doesn't last. So they will feel sad, of course, because they are still humans. So for sure. But not sad to the level that they need to think about it to find a justification for it. They just feel sad that it happened. And they don't need to do anything further. They don't need to think about themselves. They don't need to think about their image. They don't need to get so angry. They don't need to do anything. They might just go softly with it. Oh, yeah, that's just so bad. They might even cry about it. We are still humans for sure, so we are not machines. So we will feel it for sure. But if someone is at that level or in that state, whatever that be, I would imagine that it won't leave so much of a scar on them. So it will be just for a brief time, and then they move on. And then, they don't stick with it. So, and then this seems to me acceptance. Because once I use my mind to actually think about what happened, then this means that first, I don't like it. Second, I don't like it that much that I need to find a justification for it. And third, I need to find a solution for it. It's like so it's like an earthquake internally. So it's shocked everything. Like, my being has been collapsed. I have to do something about it. I feel so angry. I feel so bad. I need to find some sort of solution. And yes, so but if someone is still has that a natural way of accepting things, it might not shock them very much. Just for a period of time, of course, and then moving on. And they wouldn't think about a way to enforce anything. Nothing. It just happened. I feel sad about it, and I don't feel intensely sad. So, I mean, intensely sad, I would say, by nature. So they are not suppressing anything. It's just the way they are. Because if someone gets very, very, very sad over something, that means there is something deeper why they got that sad. It is not about the thing. It's about something deeper within. And that manifested in the sadness. So you will find the person that has no internal conflict. You will find them just moving between things so lightly. They feel happy and sad. They are not extreme at anything. Things don't leave a scar on them. They don't think too much. They don't pretty much it's like they are living. They like things, they dislike things, but at the same time it all still doesn't matter much.
So somebody who's very regulated then.
Yeah, but I would say by nature, because I don't know if this happens to people by nature, because I'm sorry. Because it seems to me that they enforce it.
Well, so there's this thing. It's called a window of tolerance, and when you're hyper aroused, you're maybe you're manic, you're whatever. If you're hypo aroused, you're below this window of tolerance. You're more inclined to be depressed or something. You, to a certain extent, obviously based on who you are, your conditions, all that shit, you do have to put in work to keep yourself in this window of tolerance so that you're not having these, swinging reactions. You're not reacting so aggressively to things. I don't think that anywhere in this world somebody just naturally is in their window of tolerance most of the time. I view it as something that needs a lot of varying levels, of course, but maybe needs a lot of effort put into it to
Yeah.
be aware enough of yourself to notice when you're getting too reactionary, or when you're not doing the things that keep you at a sort of a more solid
Yeah.
baseline. You keep saying, you keep using the word conflict, conflict with emotions. And my view on that is a little different today, but only because of this studying that I've been doing very recently. Because all of these techniques, particularly in the Yoga Nidra, the point, the goal, I guess, is to be able to hold a bunch of emotions that don't necessarily make sense together all at the same time. And I would include acceptance into that. I think that our definition and probably our lived experience of what acceptance is really, really, really different, because I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I would not define acceptance in the same way, which I find very, very interesting. Like, I want to be accepting of a shitty situation and be angry and sad and a little dramatic about it. The dramatics, not necessary. The other stuff, I think that those things can exist all at the same time, personally. But
Yeah.
well, like we said, structures are fucking made up. We're both wrong. We're both right.
It might be. Yeah. Yeah. The things that how can I say it? There is no noticing. Once I try to notice my behavior and try to change it, it means it is not my natural way. Because for me to start thinking about changing my behavior, it means that my status quo is not something I accept. So I need to change it. Either because I don't like it for me, or socially, or whatever reason. And I mean by a natural state, someone who does not think about what they do. They just do it. And if that's hard to imagine, I would summon the example about anger. If someone is really angry, they don't think. They don't think, now I will get angry, and then they start getting angry. They just get angry. So it is something of that sort. It happens because the conditions are ripe for it. So if the conditions are here, then the natural outcome would be that I will get angry. I don't need to think. I don't need to have a plan. I don't need to decide about it. I don't need to do anything. I am just in the right time, the right place, the right conditions to be angry. So I will
But
be angry. So
wouldn't there be some thinking leading up to that, though? Because there has to be some sort of situation to cause this anger to arise. And within these, like, pre-angry, there are thoughts happening.
Yeah. Correct. People get angry because they get insulted, or they don't like what happened, or whatever reason that they think they get angry about. I would argue it is a conflict. It is a conflict between what I want, or what I think things should be, and what's happening. And they have thoughts, but just see, when someone starts to actually get angry, it's over. Like, their mind is off. It's off. Some people might try to think about a way to hold back off. Like, oh, now I am angry. Now I should, like, contain myself. Yes, that happens. but that happens through the mind. You are suppressing something inside of you that you wanted out, but because of societal reasons, you are holding back. Okay. But you are still feel angry. But once the person unleashes themselves, the first few seconds, their minds are off. It's not there. They are just acting. They are just doing something. They are just being angry. So I am saying that because I think that is similar to the person who is in the natural state of doing stuff. They do not consult the mind very often. In the way that they try to create a righteous path to what they are doing. So I am doing that because I should do it, because it's healthy or productive, or it will make like it's just not there. And the thinking, it is a way of enforcing. Like, if I am really thirsty, I will go drink water. If I am hungry, really hungry, I will go eat something. Anything. I am hungry. But if I am not that hungry, I will look up some recipes. I will watch some videos. Well, because I'm not that hungry yet. So I will try, now I will go to the supermarket to buy some stuff, and then I will get back home and then I will cook it, because I am not that hungry yet, because I know that I will get hungry later. But if I am really hungry, it's over. I have to eat something now. So it's about the intensity of what we want. So I don't think we want that the things that we claim we do. I highly doubt that. For me, too, of course, I am the first one on the list. I say so many things, but I highly doubt that I truly want them. It's just superstitious. It's just like I would say, like, it is just a thing we say, or some stuff we do. Like, I do things every day. That's it. It does not solve anything. I mean, you find people actually practicing some stuff for years, for decades, and they are pretty much the same people. I mean, they are not enlightened. It's pretty much the same. They are doing stuff. They are doing some work. Because we still have so many layers that are not really essential. It's just we have them because of convenience or because of society or whatever. But so many things are not necessary. So if I get back to the idea of having the mind and acceptance or any other concept, it won't work. Because the point I am starting to think about it, I am imposing a framework of the concept that I am thinking about. So, and the framework is by design quite limited. And anything that is limited will create some sort of issue later, a problem later. It's like thinking about happiness as a concept. So I need to fulfill some certain things to be happy. So once I am starting to think about the concept of happiness, as you said before, it's a trap. And then it doesn't make sense. Just mm, yeah. I don't know how to say it, but just the mind is limiting the way that we try to comprehend stuff. And we always try to fix things, adjust stuff, adapt, be flexible, and the way we are is always not good enough. It's just it's wrong, it's bad. I have something that I don't like, so I need to fix it, or I have some work to do, or it's just not enough for some reason. Well, mainly because of society or because of other things, but it's just not good enough. It is often not said in that way. Like, people shy away from that statement now, I guess. But I would say it's all getting back to it. It's all the same thing. I am doing something because now my current state is not good enough. I am trying to be better, improving. I mean, all that, there's nothing wrong with it. But the problem is that it doesn't happen because of a strong desire or a genuine desire. It happens because of societal convenience, or I have to do it, or made believe that I like it, or it's just very hard to differentiate between what someone truly wants and what they made themselves believe that they want, but they don't.
So, like all
Just
things on this show, if you think about it too much, it doesn't make any sense. But if you don't think about it enough, it doesn't make any sense. That said, we're about at time. Do you have any last little thoughts you want to add before we wrap up? Other
Yes.
than good luck, everybody.
Well, I guess, well, no, not really. Just just to have a good time, and yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't have.
I feel like this was a really really interesting thing for us to talk about today. Just between the two of us, the views on this are so different. So we want to hear from everybody listening. What is acceptance to you? What does it look like in your life? Are you pro or anti acceptance? You can find us on all the social media, cosmic.crap, some variation of that. And we will see you again in 2 weeks for more things that I think I know something about until we hit record.
Bye bye.
Bye.